I think I had a pretty good idea of what it was going to feel like to go through the IPO. I think what I would actually say is that get people that can tell you those things midstream. And I think we all kind of talk about the importance of outside counsel, but like I would spend at Friday afternoons or Saturday mornings or something with our corporate counsel that had been with the company for a long time, just talking through things I didn't know, I had never experienced before. I wasn't, as in depth with as I should have been. And I think that's the really important thing, is like to make sure that there will always be aspects of any big project like this that we don't have, either full grasp of, control of, or experience with before. And I think, being transparent about those things, like during an IPO, like now is not the time to be proud or have an ego or think that you can kind of handle things. I think, to Kiki's point, now is that it might have been David's point, I forget who made the point, but now is the time where there are so many people around you to help. Leverage that, talk often, even when there appear to be kind of like standard things that our outside counsel is just like accepting from the SEC or moving quickly past. Still ask questions if you don't really understand why, or you don't understand the history. Like now is a good time to learn, to get comfortable. For me, it was an excellent time to learn more about the business because I had just joined, right? So like, I would say like, just take that as an opportunity to really take it all in and to deepen yourself through the process as well as you're moving the business through the IPO too.
Yeah. I mean, push your way into those conversations, right? Like push your way into the banker meetings where they're talking about, how to position the business, and push your way into the meetings that they're doing where they're presenting the model to the analysts. Like there's no reason for you to not be there. And it's incredibly informative, and you should definitely ask to be included and push your way in. David, what's something you wish someone had told you before you'd started?
I think it took me a while to realize this, but I felt like it was either part of it was just being able to look back once it was done, and also part of it was sometimes in the midst of it stepping away from the day-to-day work and realizing that at any given moment, everybody has a different view as to where you are in the process, how definitive it is that you are having an IPO, and whether that IPO will actually happen. And the way I kind of describe it is that every company, I think, hopefully, as you correctly pointed out, Kiki, should be focused on public company readiness. The moment that actually flips is a very different moment for every single person, whether that's org meeting, whether that's when you sit down with your CFO, whether that's when you're pricing. And so I think for the practitioners, I think there are very specific checkpoints like that. But when you talk to, let's say you sit down, I remember specifically talking to our marketing team, and they're like, oh, well, we'll be public by then. I'm like, well, no, there's nothing guaranteed about this process. It's a market condition thing. It's a pricing thing. It's a demand thing. And so remembering that was something that was really helpful for me, because it helped guide conversations, but also building in checkpoints, whether that was, all right, we are for sure going to go. Well, now I need to have a checkpoint with our executive team, maybe a couple weeks down the line, to do Section 16 preparedness or something like that. And then, the next checkpoint is to bring in another group of folks under the tent and actually educate them of what we are actually doing and what they need to be doing to help the process along. Because I think it's very hard, and you kind of have to, like, I don't know what the word is, put yourself in their shoes to look at it as to what they actually know, what is an IPO to them, and what do they need to really command from a resource perspective to help you with that process. A lot of our meetings with cross-functional stakeholders, the first meeting, we would literally just give them a quick, like we've got it down to like 2 minutes, what an IPO it actually is, and why we needed their help. And I think being able to do that made our jobs a lot easier in the long run. It took us a bit of time before we started doing that, but I was happy that we did it.
Now, maybe a slightly different version of the question for you. Is there something you wish you'd done differently?
I think that one of the things that I didn't realize takes so much work is the equity in employees. Getting someone to help with administrator, and we hired someone just before the IPO, before become public, to help with the equity admin. Still didn't prepare us to the amount of work that came across our plate. even with the international operations, specifically with the international operations, because in addition, there's a lot of other things related to accounting, related to if you have filings internationally, tax calculations, and just, it's a huge workflow that I did not have the exposure in private practice to. And I wish we had tackled it before, even if it's frequent asked questions and just the documentation to help explain to employees. It's a sensitive information, sensitive subject to many, obviously.
I will put in my pitch for the thing that I wish I had done differently was to really enjoy it. You know, you are so focused on all of the work, and it can be overwhelming at times, but it is also, you know, when I was in private practice, they were always my favorite transactions, and they're my favorite transactions for a reason, because there is an energy, there is a unity, there is an excitement that you don't really get in any other corporate type of transaction. And it can, you know, there are definitely stressful moments, and there are definitely, you know, lots of fighting and grousing and late nights, but, you know, I wish that I had enjoyed it more than I did. And, you know, certainly for us, we started the process pre-pandemic and then had to continue the process during the pandemic. And I think, you know, that added a very different layer of enjoyment, you know, to it for us, but really try to enjoy it.